Everybody, how you doing, Raven fans, Oriole fans? Thank you for joining us this week on the Ravery Sports Podcast. For fans like me, like and subscribe to all of our social media content that is available. So we're available on YouTube, available on Twitch, available on X, available on Facebook. You can be watching this right now, so thank you for watching all of our content on there. We have, I think it's like over 200 videos now. So thank you. Check them all out. Last year we talked about baseball, football, turf, basketball, etc. So definitely go ahead and check it out on all of our social media platforms. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well. Also, too, let's talk about Harris Legal Shield. So we're going to have a live stream. You see it at the bottom of the screen. If you are a small business owner, especially, you're going to have legal issues. You're going to have legal problems in your business. Maybe you don't have them. This is the best way to prevent them. I can't tell you the enormous value you're going to get legally from a lawyer with Legal Shield. So definitely, I've named the business Harris Legal Shield. That's my last name, obviously. And you're going to go ahead and we're going to go live on 2/4/24 on several various platforms, but on the LinkedIn Harris Legal Shield and also to our Facebook Harris Legal Shield as well. So we're going to be going live on there. Definitely there. You see the website as well. If you want to go ahead and get more information for that, definitely go on the website. You can buy a monthly. You can get a monthly for Harris Legal Shield. The value is tremendous. Trust me. Calling a lawyer compared to Harris Legal Shield is tremendous. Genesis Notary Services. This is for you, Shenandoah Valley. Definitely, too, if you're in the Shenandoah Valley area. We're going to go live with this one as well. 2/19/24. That's President's Day at 12 o'clock. So definitely we're going to be talking about our notary business there as well. We will come out in the Shenandoah Valley. Some people have questions, though, about what we do. I've had that a lot. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go live. We're going to go ahead out there, put that on there. That's going to be on the Genesis Notary Services Facebook page. So go ahead to Facebook, Genesis Notary Services Facebook, also too on LinkedIn as well. So definitely we're going to do that. I got about 700 followers on LinkedIn. So definitely we have that there as well. Two more things. Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to have a stream, 4 o'clock. Definitely. Might be there for a while. Looks like we're going to get Ravens in the Super Bowl. So definitely can't get any better than that. Definitely. And what a better way to celebrate the Ravens in the Super Bowl better than to go into Harris. ravorisports.company.site. Get your Ravens jersey like the one I am currently wearing. You can get, I'm rocking my Kelly Gray jersey. You can get a Lamar jersey. You can get a Ray Lewis. You can get a Joe Flacco. We got smaller ones for the kids. Maybe you can still get the Orioles merchandise. We got Turk. Definitely check it out. What's a better time to go and get a jersey than for a Ravens Super Bowl run? Might be going to the Super Bowl because we're definitely going to the championship round. So there was the final score. Definitely got that one right. 34-10 in that one. So Ravens were successful in this game, 34-10. Believe it or not, this was sometimes the score is not indicative. The score, sometimes a game is further away than the score would say. This was kind of a little bit closer in some sense because at the half we had a tie game. So the Ravens really pulled away in the second half, where it was pretty much all Ravens. But the score was a little tight, a little tense there in the half. I think the rust really showed. It happened in the 49ers game too with the Packers, but in this one, the rust kind of showed. So uh, they hadn't played the week before with the bye. They hadn't played really the week before that, a lot of the starters, and they had a decisive game in the game against Miami. So they didn't play in the fourth quarter of some of those games. So it had been a while since Lamar and a lot of those guys had played or played in a tight game. So I think that kind of showed. Second half, they got the sea legs and they were able to go ahead and get a victory. Lamar was very good. This was more vintage Lamar. 16 of 22, 152 on the ground, 2 TD passes, 2 touchdown runs. Very good stuff by Lamar. I thought he ran the ball well in this one. I think like if he had to run the ball more, he could have. They really couldn't do anything with him. It looks like he's running at half speed, blowing past people. Like his speed is tremendous, and I mean that's stating the obvious. But he doesn't really need. I know it is different for a quarterback as opposed to a running back because he got more room to run, but he doesn't really need a lot of carries to get 100 yards. So great, 2 touchdowns for Lamar, 2 deep passes. I thought he was very accurate with his throws, very economical. Good day for the likely MVP, Lamar Jackson. Justice Hill. I could see why I could say this. Looking at him all season, I could see why John Harbaugh really likes him. It's definitely the case because he fits perfect in what John Harbaugh wants to do, and that's a rotation. So John Harbaugh wants to mix. He doesn't like bell cow. I've been saying that for like 2 years now. He doesn't like bell cow. He likes to mix and match guys. He likes to go with the hot hand. He doesn't want to rely on one guy so much. This was the case with Greg Roman. This is the case with Todd Monken. He definitely, Justice Hill kind of fits that mold because he's a little bit of everything. Get a little cut. You want to throw the ball more, get catches out of the backfield. Justice Hill can do that. Blocking from the pass game, he can go ahead and do that as well. Justice Hill, if you need some carries, he kind of fits in a rotation. He can kind of do things without a lot of carries. Did see Dalvin Cook in this game towards the end. So I think we'll see him more in the AFC Championship. Also, too, Gus Edwards, not bad. I think this was I thought Justice Hill was probably the best out of everybody in this one as well. Zay Flowers is growing up right before us. Zay Flowers, I thought, was covered a lot by the best cornerback on the Texans, Derek Stingley. Great coverage by him. I thought not a huge day, 4 catches, 41 yards. But listen, he's getting a lot of attention. I think he himself has got to be someone looking forward to maybe getting Mark Andrews, who could be playing. It's likely. I think he's playing in the AFC Championship. He practiced last week. I haven't seen practice reports today. This is airing on a Wednesday evening, so I haven't seen it yet. But we will see how Zay Flowers does. I think Zay Flowers, I think definitely going in next year, he's your number 1 receiver, no question about it. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Beckham, et cetera, and the rest of those guys. But the whole receiving core has been giving one big catch a game, especially Aguilar, timely catches. Not a lot of gaudy stat numbers from the defense in terms of sacks and picks and things like that. Kyle Hamilton kind of dropped one. This is the guy with the most tackles. Really saw leadership out of Roquan in this. They really were committed to stopping the run. And that's why Roquan's up there. I think he was the best defensive player during the course of this game. I don't think there's any other about it. I don't think there's any about it. Might be number 2 all time to wear the Ravens uniform at the middle linebacker position, Mike linebacker. He's not ahead of Ray Lewis by any stretch, but he puts a few more years in. I don't think Roquan is definitely right there. Definitely great stuff from Roquan. Leadership again, kind of growing into his own as well, as silly as that sounds for an all-pro. But he had 100 some odd tackles this year. He was very, very good. Texans, nothing to be embarrassed about. Playing with house money, they won like 3 games last year. The fact that they got as far as they did with a rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. Stroud, I think, is going to be in the top 10 quarterbacks going forward. 19 to 33, 175. What happened here, they took away his deep stuff. And they really couldn't accommodate for that late in the game. They really took away the deep stuff, took away the run game. So all he could really do was get short stuff. They really started coming after him. Offense kind of woke up, and they were able to pin their ears back. So I don't think Stroud was bad in this game at all, but he wasn't able to pull him out, pull him through. Didn't score enough touchdown. Wasn't able to punch it in, move the ball some in the air, but not a great thing by any stretch. Devin Singletary was a non-factor. The whole run game was a non-factor. Defense up the middle was great. Roquan, Justin Matabuke, Pat PQ, Patrick Queen, Kyle Ham, all they were fantastic. They've been fantastic all year. No run game, forced them to throw it short. So the defense was terrific in this one. Devin Singletary, I think he's an okay running back. I don't think he's that far ahead of a Justice Hill. We'll see how far next year if they continue to stay with him, but he's not bad per se. You could they could maybe use an upgrade. We'll see what happens with Pierce in the offseason. It'll be interesting to see what they do there. Nico Collins, I thought, actually did better against Brandon Stevens than I've seen most receivers do. I thought there was a little bit of air with him, at least for Brandon Stevens standards this season, the great season he's had. It'll be interesting to see again. They were kind of missing Tank Dell, so not bad. Nico Collins, 5 yards, 5 receptions, 68 yards, not horrible. Over 10 yards per on average yards total. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. I think he was decent enough. I think they needed a couple more guys to help him out. I thought he was probably their best offensive player. Darryl Stingley Jr., great. I thought it was very interesting how he was following around the whole game Zay Flowers. So I think Zay's going to get more and more of this. He's pretty good too. I think probably he's going to be one of their better defenders. I think they have 2 good rush enders. I think the secondary isn't too bad either. I don't think they could do anything with Lamar on the ground. I think that was what it is. So they did a decent enough job against the pass, but Lamar is so dynamic. He just eats you up on the ground. That's what happened. 34-10 was the final score. Texas really, no shame in it. No shame in the Texans had a good year considering their circumstances. They were a good period. I think this probably going forward, it'd be interesting to see what happens with the Jags. But in the offseason, if they can add to the team. But yeah, they might now. I think I've said it. Be everything we thought the Jags were going to be. So it'll be very interesting to see. The AFC Championship is this week. The Chefs 13-6 against the Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium. This is the first time in Ravens history that we have had an AFC Championship game in downtown Baltimore. First time the Ravens have held AFC Championship. It seems crazy considering all the success that we've had as a team. But most of these years they've won. They've kind of been road warriors, kind of got in as a wild card. 2019, they were the number 1 seed and got knocked out. So now they're the number 1 seed again, and they are winning. And they're going to win this game. Spoiler alert. And they're going to win this game, and they are the number 1 seed. Chefs are here. I'm surprised the last few months. I've been picking against them for a couple weeks. We'll get to the Chefs. Let's talk about the Ravens first, of course, our Baltimore Ravens. Lamar, I don't think there's any question about whether he's going to be the MVP. No question about it. Those are his stats in the regular season. He's fantastic. I think he's fantastic. His maturation as a passer is phenomenal. I think he doesn't need to run 1 yard to win football games. He doesn't need to. He can do it in the pass. His timing is there. I also noticed, too, the pass blocking, how much time he's had all season in some cases. I mean, there was like several times in this game, he had 5-6 seconds to throw the football, which is a long time. So good job by the line as well in some games as well. They're going to have their hands full against a very good Chiefs defense. I don't think it's as good as they are statistically, but it's pretty good. Pretty good. They're here in the AFC Championship. Obviously, they're good. Gus Edwards, 13 TDs in this game, they were kind of more keying on Gus. You saw more of Justice Hill in this one. We're definitely going to see more of Delvin Cook, I think, in this one. So we already talked about how Justice Hill, they like to spread around the carries a bit. That's what they're going to do. They're absolutely going to do that in this one as well. But Justice Hill, going to catch the ball out of the backfield. Dalvin Cook and Gus Edwards are going to try and pound up the middle against that good Kansas City defense up front. Zay Flowers, this is your number one receiver for them. This is the receiving core has been solid. No question about it. I think Justice Hill, Justice Hill catching the ball out of the backfield, but Odell Beckham, Nelson Aguilar, Rashard Bateman making key catches at key times. They've been making catches key in the game. And also, don't know it yet, hoping to get Mark Andrews back for the AFC Championship game. What a better time to have Mark Andrews, maybe the best tight end on the field in this game. Even includes Travis Kelce, who's showing some signs of age. So we'll see. Guy tackling machine, 158. Roquan Smith, 158 tackles on the season. He is also, no question, the leader of the back end of the defense. No question about it. As good as Kyle Hamilton is, as good as PQ is, Patrick Queen, this guy is the leader. No question about it. He's the one, saw that very clearly in that last game against Houston. This guy is the one that is taking over, I think, the veil of the leadership role of the team on the defensive side, especially at least the back end as well. So good job. Roquan, he's going to be key. This guy is here. This is reason 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 why the Chiefs are in the game. Patrick Mahomes. This is the 6th consecutive AFC Championship game for the Kansas City Chiefs. I could say this about Patrick Mahomes. You see the numbers. Their interceptions are up 14, not quite as good this year. He was phenomenal in that game against Buffalo. There was no question about it. This is what we call, it's not as true in baseball, but it's true in football and basketball, the Michael Jordan factor. Okay? If you have Michael Jordan, if you have Kobe Bryant, you have Pat Mahomes, if you have Tom Brady, you have a shot. That's why they're here. That was the best game they played in all season long on offense. Mahomes was tremendous against a good defense. That's why they won. I thought he was phenomenal in that last game. Isaiah Pacheco runs with purpose. The only thing I don't like about him is he's never going to be lead the league in rushing for 2 straight years because he's too small. The way he runs with reckless abandon. I kind of agree with him. Marion Barber kind of just runs angry all the time. He's a bit small, so he's going to get banged up, but he's good. Definitely try to tackle him one time, ain't going to get it. You're going to have to wrap him up. Might be the greatest tight end overall as far as a career in NFL history, I think, Travis Kelce. Right up there with Shannon Sharp, right up there with Tony Gonzalez. No question about it. This guy is maybe the best ever. Not quite as good this year. He's looking at his age, banged up a little bit. And he, for sure, he's getting triple teamed a lot. I mean, they're obviously focusing on him. Now, Rashee Rice is coming along. He's looking better every week. I think that was another reason why they won the game. Rashee Rice has been looking better the last few weeks. They're pretty much, and I can almost guarantee, this is where they're going to go with it. They're going to go to Kelce. They're going to go to Rashee Rice. Kelce had 2 touchdowns. Obviously, and he's going to bring Taylor Swift to downtown Baltimore as well. That'll be interesting to see how many times they actually cut to Taylor Swift during the daggone game. Chris Jones, best defensive player that they have, no question about it. Again, triple teaming him. I think coming not quite as effective, but he's got 3 guys on him. I see them do this with the Rams too, with Aaron Donald rather. He's got 3 guys on him every time. Karanitis is their tackle, is their defensive end as well. He's got 10.5 sacks. Trent McDuffie is tremendous. What you saw last week with Zay Flowers, with Daryl Singley, you can better believe Trent McDuffie is going to be the guy on him as well. Um, they're they're definitely going to go ahead and do that. I don't think again it's going to work much. You may limit his catches. They're going to move the ball around a lot. Also, too, if you have a Zay, if you have a also to the fact that they like to spread the ball around a lot, you may limit his catches, but also too, if you got Mark Andrews in the game, that'll limit as well. Who wants to go to Super Bowl? 34-20. As good as they were last week, the Chiefs were. I don't think they're going to be able to do that against this Ravens defense. You never know with Mahomes. I mean, because again, again, the Michael Jordan factor that you got Mahomes, you got a shot. So they definitely have a shot, but I can't think 2 weeks in a row against this defense, which is fairly healthy. May get Marlon Humphrey back in this game. You never know. We'll see. So, ready for a Super Bowl. Chiefs 20, Ravens 34. I'm predicting it. We're all hoping for it. We want to go to the Super Bowl and knock out the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's go, guys. And that's pretty objective. I think KC, as good as they played last week, also to a little bit. It was a tough emotional game. They have to come back up. You know, they had to go on the road, tough emotional game, very difficult to come back from that. So we will see how that goes as well. So Championship Sunday as well. So we got that coming up on the site. So this is the last week of the NFL season with more than one game, multiple game weekend. Championship Sunday in the NFL. Here we go. There you go. Championship Sunday is coming up. Let's talk a little bit about the wild card. Last week. We already talked about Kansas City. Green Bay and San Fran. I think San Fran kind of showed too much last week. I think it affected them worse than the Ravens. Because Green Bay, I think, came to play, but I think they had just enough to go ahead and do because they have more talent. No question about it. And Detroit, they're good. There's no question about it. They can absolutely win this game. This week. Detroit is good. They just have more talent than Tampa. I think Tampa on the road is a bit too much to have. And we got Championship Sunday here. The Lions. How about this? Look at how far this is from. The Lions, they have a they have an outstanding group here. Um, this is not a team. This is not an aberration. Their offensive line, I think, is the best in the NFL without the question. I think their quarterback has played very well. They have a very good group of running backs. I think the defense has actually come along. Aiden Hutchinson has been on a tear lately as well. Secondary, not great. I think that's not going to be good in this game, but I think they're really, really good. 49ers, I think for some people, for whatever reason, the bloom is off the rose. They got banged around pretty good about the Ravens. They got banged around pretty good by the Ravens. They were able to win like against, I think it was the Commanders, won an easy game. Then they had to bye. Then they really didn't look great last week. I think, honestly, I think San Fran is definitely a better team. I think the rust hurt them. I think it hurt the Ravens too. I think because of that, it was. And I think they were playing a stronger opponent, a hungrier opponent. I think it was a little bit closer there as well. All this Brock Purdy got exposed stuff is kind of silly to me. I think they win this game. I think the Niners do win this game. This will be close though. I think the thing about Detroit, they kind of really take the air out of the ball. You're not going to get, this isn't going to be 35, 34. They run the ball a lot. They push you around a lot. They take the air out of the ball. They capitalize. They have a good run game. I think the Niners defense kind of wakes up here. I really do. I don't think Goff has never really done well against San Fran. I think that matters. I think whatever it is, he's not been really good at San Fran. That kind of goes back to his days with the Rams. And I think the Niners, I think, really are going to handle business here. I think they kind of knock off the rest. I think they're going to look better than what we're seeing. I do think it'll be the 49ers in the Super Bowl. I would say the rooting is going to be not me rooting necessarily for the Lions, but I think when I say that, I mean most people. It's been I don't think I'm not even sure if they've ever been to a Super Bowl. None that I remember. So I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for the Lions. I think this is their best shot in obviously years. Um, and I think like it's been all season in the AFC. There's been 4 teams I think that would be here. The Niners, I thought, in the one spot, Detroit, Dallas, and Philly probably were going to be on the team. It's the Lions. I think they lose a fairly close game, probably about 7 points, 20, like 27-20. I don't think it'll be too much offense in this one, but I think Niners do enough to actually win. So there you go. NFC Championship Sunday. Last game, last time this weekend, this year. We're going to get 2 games before we get to the Super Bowl. So football season almost done, but not almost done for us. So whoever wins that game and the Ravens are successful, win goes to the Super Bowl. Couple of quick notes here. This is a big deal. I know some of you aren't wrestling fans. They're going to wonder why we're going over this, but we do go over a lot of sports media. You're not wrestling fans like I've always been, but WWE Raw, they have 2 shows for those of you who don't know, Raw and SmackDown, 2 shows. The Raw brand, which airs on Monday, SmackDown airs on Friday. So they've been selling out 2 shows to 2 different properties, similar to NFC and AFC in football. So Raw is going to Netflix, 10-year, $5 billion deal. Now, why are we even talking about this? Because this is a huge deal for sports media right now. Sports media, a lot of these properties are, a lot of the old networks are going out. Streaming is coming in. NFL, you saw it. We just talked about it, where the Chiefs and the Dolphins were streaming. Now you got WWE, the first real sports network. And WWE is always the innovator in production and all that stuff. They were the first really one to get rid of the pay-per-view and go to streaming and all that. So they're now going to be on Netflix. This is a big deal for several reasons. One, I don't think they got, believe it or not, as much money as they wanted. I think they probably wanted more. It's great for Netflix for this reason, because now they're getting into the live streaming thing. And also, too, they get a chance to kind of dip their toe in here, where I think soon they're going to be bidding on the NFL and the NBA and all those things. So that's coming now. This is the largest streaming service in the entire world. Netflix is way past all this other stuff they're trying to Paramount and all that. Netflix is way past. It's the biggest streaming service. I mean, the internet for the most part is YouTube and Netflix. So it's the biggest streaming service in the world. It's good for them. They're going to get into live sports. They're going to get a different audience, a bigger audience. I saw it was like 13 million subscribers signed for Netflix compared to what they have. I don't know what it is. They have like what 600 million or something like that. It's insane. So they're way past there, but they're way ahead in the streaming war. So it's good for them. It's good for WWE. I don't think, believe it or not, they got as much money as they wanted. I don't know if they love a 10-year deal, but guess what they are getting? They're getting about the money that they wanted, and they're going to get a much younger demographic. That's a big deal. If you have teenagers, I have 2 teenagers. They don't know what NBC is, USA Network is. If for young people, for people under 35, but I'm not one of them, but you are getting what it is if you're not on Netflix, you don't exist. Trust me, I tell you, if you have 2 teenagers in the house. So you're going to get a younger audience from this as well. You're going to get a whole new group of young people that are going to be scrolling the Netflix view and see WWE. And so this is big for them. And I think this may shift in sports media. So this is a big deal getting that. Apparently, The Rock is joining the board at TKO, which owns WWE and UFC as well. So good for that as well. Shift to basketball a little bit away from sports media. The Bucks have fired Adrian Griffin, who's the coach, and apparently this just happened right before I started streaming. They're hiring Doc Rivers. So Doc Rivers, who was working at ESPN, worked for several years in Philly, worked for the Celtics, etc. Orlando, coach for a long time. A pretty good player with the Bucks, former Bucks player, is going to become their new head coach. So let me get this straight, Milwaukee. You fire Mike Bulldozer, who won you a championship and had the best record in the league last year. And they did get beat in the first round to an 8. That, you could kind of argue that one. Okay, well, they should have won, but that wasn't good enough for you. So you get a guy, you hire Adrian Griffin. They're 30-13, second in the East. Not good enough after 30 games. So it's clear they're having a problem with Giannis. This is kind of the case. The coaching has always been bad in the NBA. Watch Gil's Arena and him listen to him talk about coaches, because it's coaching has always been bad. I've always had so much respect for Greg Popovich, how his teams play with so much discipline. I've always had so much respect for Pat Riley, how hard he pushes his teams, etc. You see the same thing with Spoelstra. Really pushes his guys hard. Eric Spoelstra, the current Miami coach. But even he kind of now doesn't in the 2023. He kind of only one that works with certain type of guys, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so you're hiring Doc Rivers, who got fired in Philly, who you could have hired before, who he had a better record than he did. So impatient, not running the business the way you should. Not running the business. You're seeing this in all sports. Guys are impatient. Players are impatient. And it's crazy here because you're winning. It's not like he was losing. You're winning, and you fire the coach. So lots of foolishness going on in there. But the coaching in the NBA has always been so bad. These stars just tell these guys what to do, these coaches, and of course they don't respect them because stuff like this. They go to the owner, and the owner fires the coach or handcuffs the coach and makes them do stuff. That's why they don't listen to the players. And this is clearly a case here. Why is Doc Rivers? You could have did this anyway if that's what you wanted to do, and you didn't have to fire the other coach that won your games. So poor, not smart Milwaukee, not smart at all, as well. Hall of Fame, baseball Hall of Fame. Jim Leland already got elected. Joe Mauer got in. Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton. Now this looks more like a Hall of Fame election. So Adrian Beltre is very interesting. Had the biggest share of the vote. His numbers were much better than what people think it was. I think he didn't play on really good teams all the time, so it was kind of shadowed, but definitely deserving a Hall of Fame. Joe Mauer, no question about it. For years and years, you could say he was the best catcher in baseball in Minnesota. Minnesota was really good while he was there, former MVP. Todd Helton. Some people may not like that one. I don't have a big problem with Todd Helton being in there. Jimmy Leland, I thought was already in the Hall of Fame. Jimmy Leland did an awesome job all those years in Pittsburgh with the budget and things like that. It always had those great Pittsburgh Pirate teams that were on a roll in the early 90s. So congratulations with those guys. I would say Hall of Fame for me a little bit still is diminished with so many of the great players down in there. You got no Pete Rose in there, and I understand people don't want him in there. You got no Barry Bonds. You got no Roger Clemens. You got A-Rod not in. Gary Sheffield not in. So it's a bit diminished for me because you don't have so many great players. It's like, and I talked about this last year, it's kind of like the Hall of Very Good. Scott Rowland's got no business really in the Hall of Fame for the most part. He just wasn't good. I don't think he was good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. I hate to diminish a guy who had any career like that, but he just and certainly you wouldn't, even at that, you wouldn't have minded it had he went in like this year with other good players. But yeah, good for these guys getting in, especially. I always did like Joe Mauer, especially in Jimmy Leland as player and manager, getting into the Hall of Fame. Let's talk about, we already talked about that, Michigan State and Maryland. Close loss for the Terps in this one. This was an outstanding game on Sunday. I thought the Terps really really did fight hard in this one. They kind of fell behind. They kind of came back, which was good. They showed a lot of they fight back pretty good in a game. I'm not going to spend too much time on the box score here, but I'm going to go over some of the points here. Tyson Walker, I thought, was really good. This was a really interesting matchup. Watching him and Jameer Young, I thought it was kind of a push. I don't think one was really ahead of the other. These two guys are very, very good guards. He had 15 points, 5 assists. AJ Hoggard was a guy, 12 points, 2 assists as well. He's kind of more the ball handler in this one as well, even though he had 2 points. But I think Tyson Walker in this one kind of was the point guard and shooting guard in this one. Hoggard handled the ball a little bit. Malik Hall down low, pretty good, 12 points, 6 assists. Jameer Young, 19 points, 4 assists. Terps have a problem. Not just that they lost the game. They kind of go as Jameer Young goes. I think I've said that before. They kind of go as he goes, even in games. That's a problem. So, even the guy, this is a great example. Julian Reese, 10 points, 12 rebounds. He was good. Dante Scott, even better after 16 and 5. I thought Dante Scott was pretty good. The problem with them is they're not good when Jameer Young's not good. That's what's wrong. And that's the only problem that I have with them. Even in stretches where Young isn't good, they need to step up. They need to kind of carry him. Who carries him when he's not playing as well? So he's going up against Tyson Walker, who's an outstanding guard. And like this, they seem to only do well when he does well, which doesn't – and I think that's kind of what I lost. Even in the game I saw in stretches where Young was kind of struggling, they were kind of struggling. Then when Young pick it up, they kind of feed off of him and they get their dunk and they get – so I don't know what's going to happen with the Terps. They have a good win and then have a bad loss. You get a good road win. You get a good road win in Illinois. Then you lose to Northwestern, Boo Booey, kind of the same, really good down the stretch. And then you lose in this one, 61-59. I don't know if they make the tournament. They're not showing me that they're consistent enough. They have enough talent. I hope so, but the time is now if they're going to go ahead and turn it around. So we will see what happens there. All right, we are going to shift gears to Major League Baseball. So that's what we're going to do here. And with Major League Baseball, we're going to go over who is now, we've been doing our top 10 list, top 10 second basemen in Major League Baseball in the MLB in the 2024 upcoming season. So we've been doing our top 10 list. We're going to go ahead and do another one here this week. Again, we're going to do all these lists. We're going to do third base, shortstop, etc., left field, right field, starting pitchers, relief pitchers. We're going to go through all that all the way up until the season actually starts. So let's go ahead and get it popping. Andres Gimenez. I keep trying not to say Indians every time I see that uniform. But this guy's won the Gold Glove 2 straight years. So that's why he's on the list. Great defensive player, solid offensive player. Guardians don't have a lot of offense. So I think on another team, he probably wouldn't be as valuable offensively, but he's a fantastic defensive player. Every time I've seen him handle, he always makes at least 1 or 2 good defensive plays every time he plays. He's at number 10. He's in the top 10. Gabler Torres, this is an up-and-comer. I don't much like the Yankees, but this was probably their bright light last year. Probably only other than Judge. This was probably their probably only the guy. This was probably the one guy I thought that was helping them. I think he's still pretty young. He's going to get better. I think this is a bit of a projection. He's got a good bat. He's got a good bat. He can hit. He's going to actually hit some home runs. I think. I think his home run totals are going to go up. Not super defensively, but more of an offensive guy. But I think Torres, I think, is definitely deserving being on the list. Make sure I say his name right. Ha-Seong Kim for the San Diego Padres. Padres. This guy's a base stealer. So they had Cronenworth for years at second base. They went ahead and this guy kept inching playing time. Very good. He had 38 steals. More of a solid overall second baseman than Cronenworth is. Cronenworth is playing first. This guy is very, very solid. I think definitely too very good with Xander Bogaerts in the middle of the field. I think he could actually, he's another one. I think he's got potential to get a little bit higher. I think that's about right, though, for right now. I don't think he's this year going to go that higher, but he's in his mid-20s. Not bad for the Padres. Brandon Drury, definitely a guy, definite power hitter. Some would question even the second baseman. I think he's mostly that's where he's going to play at second base. Good second baseman as well, but he hits for power. He can definitely do that. I think he's not as known, obviously, because of where he's playing. Obviously, he's playing for Los Angeles, so the Angels haven't been very good. I think this guy is very good. This guy can clearly hit. I don't know. He's going to get you some DH. He's going to get you some time, maybe at third base, but definitely at second base. So I think that's his primary position. He's going to definitely get you some hits. Definitely a staple in that Angels lineup. Luis Arias questioned almost if he was going to hit 400. This almost seems kind of low for a guy who hit in the high 300s like he did, but he really hadn't hit to that level before. I kind of do think that was a bit of an aberration. It clearly can hit. I mean, you don't hit over 350 and then to say, well, you can't hit. So definitely, I don't think it'll be that high again. But he's one of the best players on the Marlins team. He's pretty good. I really like watching him play. That's all too for a list that I'm doing. Always like watching him play. Really hits the ball well. Got some good speed. Not a real power hitter, more of a traditional second baseman, but he's not bad defensively. Not too bad. Not stellar, but not too bad. Kentel Marte of the D-backs. So you saw how good he was in the World Series and in the NLCS last year. Definitely in the top 5, in my opinion. All around good second baseman. All around. Second baseman is kind of part of a lot of things. It's part offense, not quite. Part defense, not quite. Lot table setter, not quite. This guy is all those things. Kentel Marte, consistent too as well. Several years now, get higher on the list. Resume matters. He's got a pretty good resume for several years. Kentel Marte, outstanding stuff. I really think this is actually always have a spot too on these lists. If somebody said he was at 1, I'd have no problem. This is probably about as low as here. I don't know if I wouldn't put him 1. I bet these guys I didn't, obviously, but I have no problem. If somebody says Kentel Marte is the best second baseman in baseball, I don't have a problem with that. This is probably the line where I would say, okay, you got the best there. This guy has been good for a long time. Jose Altuve. I can't think of a better guy on this list or one of the better guys in all of baseball who's had more clutch hits in more key situations. The Astros have been, you could argue this guy is the backbone of the Astros' success that they've had. No question about it. Hits for power, hits, which is pretty impressive considering he's not a big guy. I mean, he's pretty small. Hits for power, hits for average, plays good defense. I think he's pretty much the leader of that team. Getting a little older. That's the only thing here why he's not higher. His production may slip. It slipped kind of slightly last year, so there may be another slight drop, but he's definitely in top 4. Jose Altuve for the Astros. Marcus Semien, fantastic. Love Marcus Semien. Again, another guy, if you put him at 1, I really don't have a problem with it. Hits a lot of home runs for a second baseman. Definitely, he could put him at third base. You could put him at first base. Not great defensively here, I don't think. I've heard some good things about him, but I'm not in love with him defensively. But you don't really worry about that. I mean, he's getting you 30 plus home runs. I think definitely on a good offensive team like the Astros, he's definitely one of their best offensive players. Going to get you a lot of home runs. Outstanding stuff. Marcus Simeon. Ozzy Albies, I got to tell you, any negative, I've never seen it. I've only seen a great base stealer, a good hitter, tremendous speed. People question his defense. I, I, the negative stuff, I've never seen it. I don't, I don't get it. Head not always in the game, kind of judge you. That's about the only thing I can say. But I mean, this guy's a phenomenal hitter. Put him anywhere in the lineup. I love Ozzy Albies as a hitter. I thought in last season he had his best season on a team that has excellent protection in the lineup too. Obviously, he's got great lineup. I mean, we've seen Braves, I think, on all the lists here so far. So yeah, definitely Ozzy Albies. I got no problem putting him at number 2. Number 1. Maybe you weren't expecting this one, but Mookie Betts. He's going to be your full-time second baseman. It was announced that this is it now for him. He didn't. Maybe you know him as a center fielder, but he's going to be full-time second baseman. And I don't think there's any question about it. If he's at second base, this is your best second baseman. Betts, I think they kind of at times I think too much is made of him. But it's really good. I thought this last year, had the season been 170 games, he very well could have stolen the MVP away from Ronald Acuna. He was that good in the second half. He was fantastic. So this guy is obviously one of the better players. I think second base is going to work for him. I think not putting him in the outfield as well is going to help him stay healthy. It's a less demanding position. So, yes, this is absolutely the number 1 guy at second base. Mookie Betts. Watch him and do the right thing. Mookie? Big name in the 80s. Mookie. Black people always call themselves. Wow, there's a Mookie. There's always a Mookie in the neighborhood. So, Mookie Betts, number 1 second baseman in all of baseball. So, definitely that's the list. Let's talk a little Orioles baseball. So our baseball discussion this week. And we're going to talk a little what they used to call rotisserie baseball. You know, I looked and see if anybody still did that, called it rotisserie baseball. But that name, basically, it was fantasy baseball, but fantasy football came in. And I think the names now, I don't see anywhere they call it rotisserie baseball. So fantasy baseball for the Orioles. Okay, so for you guys out there playing fantasy baseball this year and you want to have Orioles on your team, if you're like me, I'm not using any Yankees. Any league where I play fantasy baseball, I take all the Yankees. I don't want any Yankees. But the Orioles is fine to spend them, but you want to win the league. How good are these Orioles in fantasy? Where should they be drafted? Okay, so there's a lot of fantasy leagues out here. How do you do it in fantasy league? If you're playing straight points, some people do that. They play a league, highest points, whoever scored that day wins, or the week in fantasy baseball, you go ahead, win. Some people play leagues of 12. Some people play leagues of 14. Some people play leagues of 8. For me, for the most part here, I do 10 team leagues, kind of like I do in football, 10 team leagues. And that's kind of what I'm basing rounds on. Okay. So if you're looking at these rounds that I'm drafting players, it's based on 10 team league and what players would be drafted in a round. Now, if I have them in a round, I'm going to also go into guys who have more or less value in a round. So who may be worth drafting later or whatever. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about keeper leagues. So if you have a keeper league, basically what that is you're in it, to use the MLB to show standard, you're in franchise mode, right? So you're drafting a guy and you're not redrafting every year, basically. So you're coming back the next year and you're getting a team, etc. So let's see how the Orioles kind of will do in fantasy baseball. What do the Orioles look like? So we're not going to go over everybody on the roster, but most of the names, if you're not here, you're late in the draft, right? So if you have a draft of a team like 20 plus teams, 20 plus players, whatever, you're picking like 20 times. Probably most of this draft, if you're not already here, you're down there. You picked late. Some may have value. We'll go over some of those things. Adley, freshman. This is the highest guy I have on my list. Second or third round is probably where he's going to go as far as a draft. So I have him about, in a lot of leagues, he's about 31-ish, 32-ish. Might have him a little bit later in some leagues, depending on if you're on Yahoo or CBS or something like that. You might have him 30. Adley, I think, he's the first catcher off the board. No question about it. He's going to get you a lot of players also, too. And when I'm playing fantasy, you don't get a lot of production from a lot of catchers. So definitely, if you get a chance to get Adley, definitely think about that early if you want that catcher production. Mountcastle, I have him higher than a lot of teams will have him. A lot of leagues, if you look at it, he's going to be about 7th, 8th round-ish, ish. I wouldn't mind taking him in the 5th or 6th. You're going to have decent production from him. I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's going to do well. So probably 7th, 8th round, like as far as availability. And a lot of times I got no problem taking him in the 5th or 6th round. Westberg is going to be a late pick, Jordan Westberg. I don't think you're going to take him early at all. Definitely going to take him late, in my opinion. He'll be there late. I think he's worth, though, drafting, I think, because he's going to be your starting second baseman. You're not sure how good he's going to do. May have good value getting Westberg. Gunnar, he's going to be the highest one you see, definitely. A lot of times, he's also has value at almost every league. I almost guarantee you can use him at third. You can use him at shortstop. In fantasy, there's always you want to draft guys like that somewhere. You want a guy that's playing 2, 3, 4 positions on the field. That's always good that you can use them. A lot of leagues, you can use certain guys at one spot, but you can't use them in another. So, like, there are certain guys you can only use at third base. You can only use a catcher. You can only use Gunnar is definitely going at 2 spots. Jackson Holiday, he's not going to get drafted early. I think, though, believe it or not, somebody might grab him early. I have him very, very late. Definitely worth keeping. If it's a keeper league, you definitely need to go early. He's going to be much earlier. If you have a league where you don't have to redraft every year, somebody's going to take Jackson Holiday. No question about it. So definitely keep that in mind for you keeper league guys. Ryan O'Hearn, definitely he's going to be a DH, 12th or 13th round in the middle. That's about right for him. I definitely think he's worth taking in that way. If you definitely have a lot of utility guys or like that, definitely a utility spot, 12th, 13th round, like around 120-ish, 200-ish, things like that. I definitely think O'Hearn is not a bad pick. A lot of the outfielders are basically in the same spot in a lot of leagues I saw. Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, Anthony Santander. Santander is a little bit higher in some places. Simply because of the power production that he's put up the last couple of years, Santander is a little bit higher. Mullins, I think, 10th, 11th round. It really depends. When you're picking here, what do you want? Do you want the bat steady? Austin Hayes? You want a higher average? Do you want stolen bases? You get Cedric Mullins. You want the home runs? You get Santander. Most of the times, if you're drafting, most of the time, people want those bats. They want those big-time home runs. Santander. I think the highest will probably be Santander. 10th, 11th round shouldn't be any higher than that. For these guys, I wouldn't do any higher than that. Somebody might take Santander a little bit early if you don't like him. Also, keeper league, keep an eye on Heston Kjerstad. Keep an eye on Colton Cowser. Those guys are going to get drafted in the keeper league. Not as high as a Jackson Hollywood, not as good of a prospect, but somebody might grab them late. If you're not drafting again earlier, I wouldn't take these guys until very, very late, unless it's after spring training and we know a little more. But I think those probably where you should go. Grayson Rodriguez, Kyle Bradish, round 4-5. I actually don't have a problem taking Bradish a little bit earlier because Bradish, I mean, you could argue he's an ace. You could argue Grayson, he's an ace. So I don't have too much of a problem. I don't think you have to, honestly. I don't think they get quite the respect yet in a lot of these drafts, quite yet. Fourth, fifth round is about right where you could take them. If you want to take them earlier, especially Bradish, I don't have a big problem with that. You could take them a little bit earlier, especially if you don't take pitching. Sometimes after the first round of fantasy, you get hitters and then you get a run of pitchers. So you're going to see Garrett Cole go off. You're going to see Spencer Strider. You're going to see a lot of pitchers go off. Then you might be left with a Bradish. I don't have a problem with that. Means and Kramer, if they're going to start, that's late. You might steal them there. 12th or 13th, you shouldn't be any earlier than that. I don't think they're going to go any earlier than that. Means maybe even later than that. I think that's being kind. But I don't have a big problem if you take Means. Means might bounce back around, but he has so many injury issues. I'm not sure I would take Means that early. Kramer might be a steal. I think like that. I think he's been actually decent. 12 round. That's not bad there. I'm not no problem with that. Kimbrel, I think 8th or 9th round. I know some people have problem taking closers early. So I can already see it in the comments of somebody saying something. But Kimball's going to get you closer. I think closers, you could kind of run out in fantasy. That could be a problem. I've seen that a lot. Like, okay, you don't take one, and then you're trying to take one late, and then there aren't any good ones. I think he's definitely in it. Like in the league, I think he's a second tier-ish guy. But I think 8th, 9th round, it's about as early as you want to go. Kind of like with pitching again, there's usually a bit of a run on him. So I think getting Kimbrel like there is fine. Also, too, if you don't like Kimbrel, Yadier Cano, I would say late. I think probably 12, 13 is maybe a little early. But I think there's some people, I even put that there. If you think the spring is going to go well for him and he gets the closer job, I think there's a smallest chance of that. Take him as a setup guy. This is probably the guy you want to take too. Maybe on a roster, it's better. I think it's better to take a closer for fantasy purposes. But if you want one guy who's a middle reliever, this is your guy. This is no question about it. So definitely like it because he's going to give you ERA and innings. There you go. Fantasy baseball was our Orioles discussion this week. So definitely check it out as well. We are going to go ahead and see you next week. We're going to see you after the Ravens game. We keep an eye out. I'm still deciding if we're going to do a little pregame because it's a big game, AFC Championship. So definitely check us out this week on all of our social media platforms. Thank you very much for joining us for the Ravery Sports Podcast, the Baltimore Sports Podcast. We will see you on Sunday for the AFC Championship. Have a great day.